the A to Z Podcast. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott. A to Z Podcast.com, Facebook.com/A to Z Podcast. Andre, a tie is like kissing your sister, which if for Anthony Lima is okay. Football season is back. That's the most important thing. And we'll talk about the Browns game. We'll talk about the NFL, what we've seen in college football. It's back, and as I look back to Sunday and to Monday morning, I want to say two things. One, I woke up Monday, a non-biased observer, feeling just strange. Like, let me process what happened here. And as someone who's covered 20 years of Browns football, to stand out as strange, that is certainly strange, right? And the second thing is, for guys, any team, any level, it was going to be overreaction Monday, right? In 30 NFL cities, it's overreaction Monday, whether your team played on Thursday or Monday night or Sunday. So you take the good and the bad. We know what still wears on the Browns and hangs over the Browns because they don't have that win.
You take the good with the bad with the good. Isn't it the facts of life? Is that what you just
said? Yes. They're all about you. Anyway, you're the singer around here. Shout out to John Bedell, who tweeted us that Andre is going to have to do the 4-10-1 remix. We'll see how that goes. Like I said, it's about perspective. I think most people, except a few on the team payroll, understand. You know, they haven't done shit yet. They haven't broken through. But I also see, even with a light tapping of the brakes, I see some room for encouragement. So I know you didn't see the whole game. I'm not sure. Maybe you caught up on the Game Pass, but from where you've been on the road with the baseball team, just kind of your impressions of Game 1 and what you do see or need to see going forward.
Well, you said something that's very important that I think every NFL city should take into consideration today and over the next few days before Week 2 kicks off, is that there's an overreaction to Week 1 every year, not just in Cleveland, not just in Tampa. We're in Tampa right now. They're ready to print Super Bowl tickets and run, what's his name, out of town.
Jameis, yeah. Strong.
They're ready to run Jameis out of town right now because Ryan Fitzpatrick pulled what Ryan Fitzpatrick pulls. And I guess I kind of like the perspective of being in another city right now, and especially like a city like Tampa Bay, who has not won a lot. They have some Browns characteristics, is what I'll say. Some Cleveland characteristics, just because things have not always gone their way. People have made fun of their uniforms. They continue to kind of stub their toes as they continue going forward. And I laughed when I listened to some radio yesterday where they were, Ryan Fitzpatrick suddenly has become, the greatest quarterback of all time. I chuckled because I watched, 6 years ago him do the same thing in Cincinnati, and then teams start hitting on him, and then suddenly he wasn't as tough and as great as people thought. Now, I'm not beating up on Ryan Fitzpatrick. My point is there is a lot of overreaction to what happens in Week 1, mostly because we haven't seen football played at that level. Forget what we all get excited for preseason, but preseason football is nothing close to what we saw in Week 1. I hate to say this way, but sometimes we use foul words, and sometimes we say things that can get you in trouble at your office. If you are in your office, turn this down, put headphones in, or just tell your bosses how real people talk. Fuck Canada. I was able to get every football game on my phone or onto my tablet on Sunday live, except the Browns game for whatever reason. And you would think, being where we were at, we were able to. I won't tell how we end up watching most of the game because there's probably some international rules that were broken. But we did see, but because obviously, some of the people in the traveling party are huge Browns fans, and some of the players are. And I'll tell a story before we get out of here. Remind me to tell a story of Andrew Miller and a few other relievers watching the field goal that could have won the game, not win the game, and just the reaction that they had as they were mocking this huge Browns fan that will remain nameless. We'll get to that part later. I'll say this: I didn't see every single play. I saw a lot of plays. I read a lot. I haven't been able to catch up completely. I think I saw a lot of the plays that made the difference in the game. And I walked, and you know what? I've had two different, maybe you can help me with this. I've had a couple different emotional reactions. Like on one hand, I'll be honest, Zach, I felt kind of strong about how they played, and I felt good about some of the things that they were able to accomplish. But at the other hand, same old Browns came to fruition. Let's start with the Josh Gordon conundrum that is the Josh Gordon conundrum. I can't make a big deal about them starting it. That's not even a big deal to me because Hugh Jackson's talked out of both sides of his mouth since the day he's walked in here. And you can't – the contradictory statements that he tried to make of, the play call that they had, that's bullshit. You knew your first play of the game 3 weeks ago. Todd Haley knew the first play of the game.
You should have, anyway. Yes.
If he didn't know the first play of the game, he shouldn't be an NFL head coach.
Amen.
Like that. It's that simple. And is it that big of a deal? No, because if you've been listening to A to Z and you've been listening to us, I've told you the situation, and I'm seriously, I've been telling you guys the situation from day one that things weren't set up right. The way he was giddily acting like a little 5-year-old girl getting her first, My Little Pony, because he's getting this guy that's addicted to drugs and can't show up on time and can't be trusted, is showing up. And where other coaches are saying, is he in shape? Has he been working out? What's going on with this and that? The Browns' handling of Josh Gordon has always been a mess. It just wasn't a mess at 1 o'clock on September 9th.
That is correct. You said something interesting when you guys talked about trying to get it there, and obviously, almost everyone in your traveling party has Cleveland ties, right?
Correct.
But here's what's cool. And I had this discussion / semi-argument with some people last week. This was a riveting game, right? You have the hungriest team in the history of football, or at least they damn well should be, right? Playing against their old offensive coordinator, against a totally remade offense. Gordon's coming back. The Browns used to have those guys. Myles Garrett showed the country that he's must-see TV. 84 on the other side. I would watch that guy play anything, any day of the week, right? I think I watched Dancing with the Stars when he was on it, because he's just that type of dude, that type of player. So, and then it came down to, it was a competitive game. The Steelers were in complete control, and there's one way that they could have given it away to a sputtering offense, and that's to get sloppy. You credit the Browns for their resilience, for changing the momentum, for making those plays, and then both teams had chances to cash in that they were sick about. I think it's fair that the Browns are more sick because they were dead as can be. I don't fault any fan in that stadium who went home with 13 minutes left or whenever it was, because I thought the game was dead over. And so as I look at this Browns offense, Dre, it's real easy to say, okay, built-in excuses, right? The weather, the left tackle, general week one, team know you, maybe you're not doing things you will be doing. You have so many new pieces. There is a lot of room for growth, and that's the good news. But we know what's hanging out there when you draft the number one pick in the draft and keep him on the bench, and when you bring back a coach that's 1-31. Every time you don't win, those questions linger. Those questions are right in front of your face. And, it's fair to wonder.
We'll get to that.
I
want to ask you.
Here's my number one question leaving the stadium before you ask me some. Okay? Is this Tyrod Taylor? Just have we seen it? Because if this is who he is and what he's going to be, they can't win. They'll be 2-13-1.
Look, the quarterback thing, I still go off of the bananas. Roethlisberger threw 5 picks on opening day?
I'm not arguing the bananas theory. I'm saying as long as you play 5.
I'm asking. That's the question that I'm asking.
Technically 4 picks and 2. No, technically 3 picks and 2 fumbles, but the one could have been ruled a pick. Either way, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Just hold your horses. The Browns aren't there yet. We can talk about the quarterback, but let me ask you this question. And it's really going to be rhetorical, because I believe when we started the Axon Jackson questions, not at the Athletic, but the ones that I ask you, kind of being funny, but kind of asking real questions. I believe the first question I asked you before training camp or before the draft, I can't tell you exactly when, but I know one of the most important questions I asked you has still not been answered. I asked you at the very beginning of all of this, when we started talking Browns finally this summer, right before the draft, I said, have they figured out what they're going to do with the left tackle and replacing the Hall of Fame left tackle? I believe, I'm not one of, and look, this isn't a radio show where you got to call 216-578-JACKASS or whatever else to make yourself feel good. But I believe, and I've told the play-by-play guy this, Jim Donovan and I texted Sunday night when I landed here in Tampa. He didn't react to this, and I get why people aren't reacting to this. I think it's a fireable offense that they don't have a true left tackle to take care of that job, knowing how long they've known they have a left tackle situation. The left tackle situation, from what I saw on Sunday, was embarrassing. Nothing against this kid, but you don't put a kid that hasn't played in, 2 years, out on an island, the island of left tackle like that. Now, I know there's no minor leagues. They basically hit him during – I don't get it, Zach. I'm admitting, I don't get how they made this kid the starting left tackle last week and when you know his history, and I don't know it as well as you do. To me, that makes my ears ring. I know it's easy and fun to talk about. If you have your own radio show, you have your own podcast, you want a bunch of hits, you just rail at the quarterback, and because they didn't win, you say, put in the rookie. That's what you do in 48 states and half of Canada. I refuse to go there when I know that they don't have a left tackle. Their left tackle scares me. The left tackle situation scares me big time. And if that kid gets hurt, what do they go to? I get that he's fast. He's athletic. He has the ability.
Yeah.
But really, when you have this season of turning around and being a winning team and trying to win and being different, quote unquote, that's the guy that you put at left tackle to start the season.
Yeah. I mean, look, the most significant move of training camp was Joel Bitonio a week into camp going outside, right? I mean, that's a big deal.
Right.
And it has, and really, even if you take away what had been said, that it's Plan Z, that we don't want to do that the time to experiment is June, not August, that's a big move. That's way bigger than trading Corey Coleman or Kevin Zeitler missing time or any of that other stuff, right? So to move it back, and here's the deal on Desmond Harrison. He played a little football in 2014. He was not enrolled in college or playing football at all in 2015 or 16. He played at West Georgia, did not play in the Senior Bowl, did not play the first week and a half of camp, took no reps against number ones, and on 4 days of practice, you put him out there against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I agree. Mm-hmm. That is 5-alarm fire. Right? That just is. That there is no other way to put that as a panic move. Now, there's also no way to spin the number 33 pick in the draft being inactive as a positive, but that's something to follow down the road. This is something that actually happened and they chose. And, we don't know without play calls and blitz calls and whatever what was his fault and what wasn't his fault. But it's clear there was no confidence over there for a reason. Right, because he hadn't done it. He hadn't done it, and you said it. He has the traits, and left tackle traits are hard to find. He has the light feet and the athleticism in the frame, and maybe someday the Browns will have a 6-year left tackle, a premium position, long been a premium position in today's game for the price of an undrafted rookie for sticking with him. But to do that there was not fair to him. It was not fair to Tyrod Taylor. It was not fair to the offense. So looking at that, adding in the weather, adding in the fact that shit happens in game one. I try to say this all the time. Every level of football at the end of the year, you look back and there's a strange result or 10 in week one, right, that no one can figure out. But it's because somebody was out of place, some coach wasn't on the same page, something was new, it just didn't click. It's just that's how it goes. So I do see room for growth there. And I thought once the Browns actually started running the ball in the second and third quarters, it did open some things up. Whether they were hit or not is a different discussion. 15 of 40 is putrid. Running for your life routinely rather than when you actually have to run for your life because they caught you in the right blitz or the snap was dropped or whatever is not a way for any quarterback to survive. But, Dre, from where I sat on level 4, I just saw the Steelers not even respecting the pass game and the Browns not having any confidence in it. So the Steelers knew that they could move their safeties to certain places, and they weren't going to get thrown over their heads. So I'm not sure better left tackle play can help that or better weather can help that or not. Flat out, they're going to have to do it. The good news is they do have Gordon and Landry for when they do want to do it, but I'm not sure it happens.
Well, here's the other thing. People are going to scheme up what they saw this week. That's the other reason why. The NFL is genius, and the first week is you can have your little wrinkles, you can surprise some teams, you can do different things. Tampa, I thought, did this to New Orleans very well, where, it's like they actually used all their weapons. O.J. Howard was an issue for the New Orleans Saints. So if I'm the Cleveland Browns, and maybe it's because they had everybody running wild. Deshaun Jackson was running wild. Mike Evans was running wild. I'm just using that because I've seen their plays a million times down here, and I know that's who the Browns are playing next. And New Orleans had a lot of pride in what Marshawn Lattimore did last year. They had a ton of rookie secondary guys that played their asses off in 2017, and they had a rude awakening in 18. I'll be very interested to see if Lattimore follows Landry around. If Lattimore versus Josh Gordon could be the best pure one-on-one matchup you could see in the NFL this week. It really could. And he's coming off a week where he got blessed. And I like Marshawn. We've known Marshawn since he was 16, 15 years old, growing up in Cleveland. What he'll do against Josh Gordon will be huge this week. But my point to all of that is we can talk about all these matchups on the outside. I'm going to continue to say no matter who the defensive coordinator is, they're going to attack the left tackle situation. They're going to put speed. They're going to power rush this kid. They're going to show him every look in the book. And I just think it's unfair to put a kid in that situation if you're trying to develop an offense. Why they didn't run the ball more?
Yep.
Why they didn't run the ball more early in the game to kind of help him get off was interesting to me. Look, Tyrod is Tyrod. We can have the quarterback conversation. He ain't never going to be pretty. He's never going to see. And this is what it doesn't bother me, but. Lima, you can bitch and moan about the quarterback until you're blue in the face. That guy's never going to look like Tom Brady. And actually, we use Tom Brady. He doesn't have a pretty pass. There's different ways to win games at quarterback. What the Browns statement to me when they went out and got Tyrod Taylor, and it's your team to root for, it's your team to talk about. He's not going to do things pretty. He never has. Look at who he is. He's never been great going down the field. Did they turn the ball over a ton on Sunday? Is he ever going to, he wasn't as efficient. That could have been the weather. I just think that the expectations in Cleveland that we have for quarterbacks is a little unrealistic, to be completely honest. Let's know what we're looking for when we go about that situation. Does Baker Mayfield make a play or two that he didn't make on Sunday? Possible. Does Baker Mayfield make it out of the game healthy and in one piece on Sunday? I don't know. None of us know. But what is the point?
No, that's a very valid question.
Seriously.
Well, here's where I am with the left tackle thing, and you touched on it. Just let me say it in a different way. Every team has weaknesses, right? Everybody knows that in the NFL, these coaches work 100-hour weeks. They have film on every player dating back to freaking 11th grade and every team dating back for seasons, right? And when coordinators move, they know what their tendencies are. There's 25 people on the staff. They know all this stuff. So every team has strengths and weaknesses. You try to play to your strengths, minimize your weaknesses. When you put an undrafted rookie left tackle out there that's never seen real NFL competition, you're advertising this as weakness, right? You are sounding the sirens and putting the spotlight on their film for them, right, and saying, come get us.
Right.
Because when that's a weak link, then you know where we line up our tight ends in a certain way. Those are tells. We know our quarterback reacts a certain way, and that's how T.J. Watt ends up. He's played the Browns 3 times in his career. He has like 14 fucking sacks, right? He gets 4 of them.
He's going to go to the Hall of Fame with his brother if he keeps playing.
And he's not. Well, and here's the thing: he's not the guy that lined up on Harrison's side most of the time. It was too great. They just were running blitzers all over the place to the point that when you're that bad in one area and everything slants towards the one way, then you start getting teed off from the other side. And this is 20 years of Browns football. We've all seen that, right? The quarterback thing is this. It is very fair to wonder whether Baker Mayfield would have survived. It is probably not fair to think that Baker Mayfield would have brought the team back from 21-7, even though one of those was gifted. Peppers gets to the 1 or 2 yard line and Hyde runs it in.
By the way, that Peppers play, I swear to God, that was a touchback. But that's nor here nor there.
Yeah, it was close. It was. And what Jabril told me is he caught a cramp as soon as he picked up the ball. So I think he still thought he could score, and he was still angry with himself. But you know that if your body's doing that to you, you're thinking about that, and you're reaching out at the end. Comes real close. That's for sure. And look, sidebar on that. I know the NFL came out and said that one of the roughing calls on Myles Garrett was wrong. The others were right by the letter of the law. And people said, well, that led to a touchdown, whatever. First of all, guys, it was so early in the game. It would have affected the entire game flow. Would have been different, and maybe the Steelers wouldn't have been in super brain dead mode and let you back in. Second of all, there's 10. Both teams had 10 plays to win the fucking game, and neither one of them cashed in any of the 10. Third of all, the punt clearly hits Nick Chubb in the head. Everybody knows it on the field, including the Browns. They review it. They still don't see it. They don't give you that. But the overlying thing there to me is the players don't know what a penalty is and isn't. And when you have a guy like Myles Garrett, he cannot be he has to play 100 miles an hour. He cannot be worried about, maybe I should take a different angle. Maybe I should not plant this guy like that. They have to know what it is, right? And so in a way, you live with aggressive mistakes like roughing the passer, like nailing somebody in the back when you're trying to score the winning touchdown, because at least they're aggressive. But when the players don't know, that to me is way more of a problem than one flag that they hear a day and a half later should not be flagged. As for the quarterback thing, let me get back to the quarterback thing in Baker here.
Okay.
He's not ready for a lot of reasons, because you don't need him to be or want him to be, right, is one of them. And the need now.
Big part of it. They didn't want him to be.
Yeah, well, the need now is both a big part of it and an asterisk, right? He's not ready because last week's the first week that he went through a Monday through Friday preparation in the quarterback's room, looking at one team, dealing with all these things. He will be really a lot better at that in a few weeks and do that. But they went out of their way to not give him chances to play with the ones and get used to the speed of the game and have a rapport with those guys, and I think that's eventually going to bite him. I totally am with the thought that until the Browns settle in offensively, starting with the line, have a comfort level with where guys are going to go, who's going to be blocked, and where it's going to be, there's no need to throw them out there because that's how you kill a green banana, as you've said a million times, and I agree with that. However, if Tyrod can't play better after that Thursday night game, when you've got that extra time, when you have 3 games and guys are in a flow of the season, your offensive line has had time to bang and run its way into shape, right, then all bets are off there. And if Tyrod doesn't play better, the guy's the number 1 pick in the draft, Dre, and he has to play. That's just how it's going to be. That's just how it is.
I don't disagree with that. All I said is when you went out and got Tyrod Taylor, you were trying to establish something.
Sure.
The one thing that they've continually done is not establish an identity offensively or defensively. Myles Garrett helped stamp an identity for that defense this week, finally. And I remember last year, so I was in Chicago in a hotel room when he got the high ankle sprain. I was like, you'll never see the real Myles Garrett this year because you knew that was one of those injuries you try to come back from. It's natural. You try to come back from it, but you're not yourself. When that guy is right, he has a chance to be a top 10, top 5 type defensive player. And it was hard Sunday night to watch Khalil Mack just destroy the whole state of Wisconsin and not think that could be a hell of a dog pound. You put him and the other guy together. Look, as we're talking about the Sam Darnold highlights are playing, and I know Dustin Fox tweeted, rookie quarterbacks can't play. Detroit is as bad as Cleveland, by the way. That was bad. And that Jets game on that Thursday night suddenly, that game may not be – because that Jets defense is legit, man. They're running around doing dirty work. I mean, they got Buster Screen looking good. They got the guys up front. They got the safety from LSU.
Blue chips, good for Darren Lee, who's a great kid, and a lot of life came at him fast. He had to come in. I don't know what's happened with it. I haven't been close enough to the Jets, but now he's in year 3, and I mean he looks like a star. Yes, and the Lions did wave the white flag on both sides, but I thought, Dre, it was the perfect lesson, and this goes for me and you. This goes for guys on the radio. This goes for random tweeters, whatever. Like, we overreact on Twitter. That has nothing to do in the real world. Sam Darnold throws a pick 6, the absolute nightmare on the first play of his career. Is like, oh, what a bum. Then he comes back and picks apart a defense. I don't care if it's a bad one, and he looks like a pro. Right. Like, Sam Darnold is super gifted and is going to have an NFL career that's somewhere between good and spectacular. This year, he's going to have bumps, right? Denzel Ward is super gifted and is going to have an NFL career that's somewhere between good and spectacular. He had an incredible first game, and even the one he gets beat, for some reason they're playing press on 2nd and goal from the fucking 22. Yeah. Congrats, Greg. It's perfect coverage. The best receiver on the planet goes to get it. Over the course of the year, guys, Denzel Ward.
Go ahead.
Well, hang on. Over the course of the year, Denzel Ward's going to get beaten. Right? He just is. He is. But he is 21 years old. He is long. He plays with confidence, and he knows how to find the ball. He is off to a great start. It's good to have one of those guys on your side. It's better to have one of those guys on your side with 95 playing in front of him.
That kid's going to be a star. But can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. And you're around it more than I am. Are the coaches trying to motivate Denzel by constantly barely giving him credit for shit? I heard Hugh after the game kind of question him. We had Greg question how he tackled a couple of weeks ago. That kid has got a chance to be spectacular. I knock on wood and hope that he stays healthy. He has the ability. Now, and I've heard some people bitching about him, how he was playing Antonio Brown, what Greg had him in. But you just said something, and you guys know how I feel about Greg. You said something that answers the question of why they were in it. Because fucking that kid can cover him like that. You damn right you play him. If that's the deep – and look, and I don't always agree with Greg's calls. If Ward turns his head, that's a great defensive call, right? Because they stop the play.
Yes.
When you have special players, that's why you draft Ward in the top 5 of the draft, people. You draft him so you can go up and you can play bump and run from the 22 and pressure Ben Roethlisberger into more turnovers. I know it's not sexy, and I know it's easy. It's easy for us to do. I do it too. I'm not pointing at Zach. I'm not pointing at anybody else. It's what we all do. But I'm going to give great credit there. The kid that he had playing bump and run with the best receiver in football was stride for stride. He turns his head, completely different play. I know it's easy to say, well, if I saw that up in there, they saw it. Of course they saw it. But at some points in times when you're playing chess and not checkers, you have to show some things, and you have to have the Joes show up and make plays. Denzel Ward almost did, and you said that perfectly. I know within the next 3 weeks, somebody will be tweeting about how bad he was out of place or how he didn't make this play or didn't make that play. That's part of playing quarterback, people. Just like everybody wants to kill Joe Hayden. The greatest cornerbacks there's no Deion Sanders shut down corners anymore. There's no more night to train lanes that can just take your head off and before the ball even gets to you or has stick 'em all over his hands like the Haynes brothers with the Raiders back in the day. Corners get beat. The good ones don't get beat repeatedly on the same type play. But I'm serious. Just pay attention to this. Hugh, now he didn't attack him, but he kind of played him down what he did on Sunday after the game. Then on Monday when I listened to the press conference, he was a little bit nicer, but I'm like, why are they so difficult on Denzel Ward? Is it because he's a rookie and they're trying to show tough love? I don't get why they're so tough on him so far. And maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't answer that either. There's so much going on after the game, and especially after that game. That is not something that crossed my mind, but I'm going to go back and listen.
Just pay attention to that. Just go for it. Pay attention to how they talk.
I guess I don't disagree with anything you said there, and having that special talent allows you to do things. I guess just philosophically, second and goal from the 22 against a Hall of Fame quarterback and Hall of Fame wide receiver, I think you invite them to throw an 8-yard out. That's all.
Well, second down, but yes, and look, I can't get inside Greg's head. Everybody calls plays differently, but we just give it 8 yards. But I've never heard of a defensive coordinator say what you just said. We're just going to give them 8 yards here, especially when your back's up against the
I don't know.
line.
I think a lot of times you line. I don't know. We don't know. We're not coaches. We're two fat kids from Akron, so we can go over this all day. But yeah, these are really special guys. And,
we are. But I've been in huddles that have called defenses before, and they just don't get. And I love when I hear that. And those aren't the things that are said when you're in those huddles. It's how do we get the ball back? How do we make a play? How do we stall them from not getting a yard? How do we help them?
Well, I went to Louis
us?
for lunch today, so I know some shit too, okay?
Yeah, you know shit about getting fatter. Exactly.
Hey, we're almost at 30 minutes, and I know we're both kind of squeezed here, so I'm going to let you run with this. I haven't seen a game in a week, but this is the time of the year that the Cleveland baseball team is supposed to be playing well, and it seems like it's not. So you're there. Tell us what's up.
Well, the Browns play the New Orleans Saints next week, and that should be a very interesting game as the Browns hit the road for the first time and go against Drew Brees. Dude, I don't have an answer for you right now. I don't.
What the fuck is he saying?
Because there's no answer. The motivate. There's no. I don't know. You want the truth? Things are odd, for better or worse.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that in a bad way or a good way. It's like, look, Andrew Miller pitched last night and he looked dynamic. He looked like Andrew Miller. His slider was nasty. His fastball was nasty. That's good. Tonight, Josh Donaldson's going to play his first game as an Indian, and Jose Ramirez has gone a month without really being able to drive the ball. He's hitting 160-something. He's still an MVP candidate. He's the third 30-for-30 guy the Indians have ever had. He damn near won the game with his legs last night, which shows you how dynamic he is. Yeah, do you want to be playing great? There's 18 games left. As you and I speak right now. And I'm pretty sure nobody 2016 was telling me what happened on September 11th of 2016 when the playoffs started. You want them playing better, but it's more almost individually wanting them to play better. Andrew Miller said to me last night before the game and after the game, he said it's 18 games left. He goes, hopefully I can get 8 to 9 appearances and feel like myself going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You want Andrew, and I keep going to Andrew Miller because you want him to be a hoss. Shit, they should have won. You know what? You would have asked that question to me differently if the umpire called strike 3 the pitch before the home run.
I understand. I understand that. And that's baseball.
That's what the game is. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's baseball. They're going to go to Houston on that first weekend of the playoffs. They're going to be overlooked. They're going to be talked down on. and hopefully that's the motivation that gets them to win, 9 games before anybody else, and they get to the World Series. They still have the Corey Kluber didn't have a good start last night. He struck out 3 of the first 4 guys. Looks like he's about to pound and ground, and suddenly then he gets 3-2 on a guy. He doesn't want to give up a walk. Throws a ball to a kid that was like 2 for his last 30. The kid hits it out of the ballpark. And then he couldn't find the strike zone. It doesn't happen very often for Corey Kluber, but you'd rather him have that start on September 10th than on October 5th, right?
Right.
So it's all relative. We'll see. They come home for their last homestand. I can't wait. Then we got one more road trip. We go to Chicago, my city I hate the worst, other than my man Travis Kelce.
City your liver hates the worst.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Casey is. One day we're going to just do a podcast on all the road cities that we've gone to and give the best and worst. And Casey's going to be up there pretty high. Zach, they are who they are. We'll see.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
They went in with all the momentum. They went in with all the momentum last year, and they were done 5 games later. Yeah. They went in with no momentum in 16, and they played the last game of the season. Right. We don't know, but they do have to find it. And I hate the whole switch talk, but I do think there's something to hey, you and I do podcasts differently depending upon where we're at in life and our situation that week, right?
Sure.
If you ain't hungry, if you clawed up, it's the difference between a podcast you get clawed up and the one that you get where you got 15 other things you got to go do. You got to write something. You got to get ready for a game.
Absolutely. That's what we're doing here. So let's let Josh Donaldson, swing in a few games that means something before we judge him too.
Right.
Externally, that seems like a big deal, though. So we'll see. Right. That is certainly interesting there. Guys, the sponsors of this podcast are the Honeymoon Grill, Cleveland Scene, and American Fireworks. They're always open at AmericanFireworks.com. I know we had winter for a few days, but trust me, summer's not over, and they're open all the time. Get some stuff, blow it up. They're nothing like a bonfire for an Ohio State game. Speaking of Ohio State, Dre, this goes back to the Browns and the Steelers. The Browns finally got a bunch of real NFL players, and the old saying in football – this goes back to our Denzel Ward discussion. The old saying in football is the other guys drive nice cars too. Well, finally,
yes,
Ohio State plays a team this Saturday where their guys drive nice cars too. So we're finally going to see it.
Can't wait.
It should be fun. I'll be on Bourbon Street watching it, so hopefully I'm awake for that.
You going to Bourbon Street for this? Damn, son.
This Dwayne Haskins is a special cat. He is.
Yes, he is.
And this is going to be a great test for him. And we'll see. I mean, this team's good. This team is really good. So seems like Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State are a lot different than the other cats. They all drive nice cars, as we know, and we will see what happens.
How much did you watch Clemson so far this year?
Very little, and it was the Furman game, so there was even less to see. Yeah,
their quarterback situation is very interesting to me.
Yeah, but you know what, Dre? Think about it.
Think
about it. Ohio State's quarterback situation when they won it was different than it was in September. Yeah. Alabama didn't put their guy in until the second half of the championship game last year. Georgia's kid wasn't playing. Georgia should have won the national championship last year. Their kid wasn't playing at this time last year. So yes, that is interesting. It's certainly something to watch. Any other final thoughts? We got about 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I got a ton more because I got more time than you got, but it's all right. The Le'Veon Bell situation right now. Let me just say this. I just don't understand how the kid can walk away from $885,000. What he's doing right now. I don't blame him, but he's losing the game and the public outcry. The public will never have his back as he steps away from this money. I love that the media tries to say that there's dysfunction in Pittsburgh. No, it's not dysfunction. You just got one guy that wants all the money. Deservedly so. He's one of the best in the game. But this is when sometimes we got to put ourselves on the chill side and realize that the game is bigger than us. Because he's never going to win the public side of it now. When you turn around, when you walk away from $800,000 a week, what most people that pay to see you play will never see in 3 or 4 or 5 years of their lives, people never will understand that. And I do think that it divides chemistry. But that James Conner kid can play, and I'm getting that haircut when I grow my hair back.
I can't wait. I'm here for that. Listen, we'll talk about the Lev thing. I mean, here's the deal. He wants the security. He wants the guarantee. Everybody does. We all do. On the tender, though, that he's now given up 1/17 of, he was going to be the highest paid running back in the league by $4 million. Right?
Right.
Right. In an interesting discussion, I'm going to say this now and go back to it because I forget. It takes some context because it depends on where you are. But I heard this the other morning when I was driving up to the stadium. I was listening to the official pregame show. I think it was Ken and Gerard, and they said, who has more value, Le'Veon Bell or Case Keenum? And I thought that was a really interesting thing because I think Lev is that rare of a talent where you would consider him, right? And most times the quarterback wins out. That is for sure. But that's an interesting one, and we'll see what happens because, listen, guys, even if James Conner plays at a high level the next 4, 5, 6 games, the Steelers still need Le'Veon Bell if they're going to win the Super Bowl. Let's not kid ourselves. And Le'Veon Bell, he feels like that the Steelers left him high and dry. And that's between him and Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin and the Rooneys and everything else that they've done. One of the best organizations in sports, not just the NFL. But he also should have some commitment to those 52 guys in the locker room, and that's why they're pissed, and I understand. So it's fascinating.
You just hit it.
Yes. It's great TV. It's great TV. We hope this was a great podcast. We thank you for listening. Facebook.com/A to Z podcast.
One more thing I got to say. One more thing I say.
Yep.
September 11th. It was 17 years ago. Not that we always think about this, but just a shout out to everybody that gives us the true sacrifice of life and true sacrifice of their families and their time to support and to protect our country. September 11th, I know where I was at. I know the moment that it happened. And I know how much it's changed my life and our lives. We don't get into stuff like this very often, but we are appreciative of those that have been willing to give themselves up for the protection of our nation and for ourselves. And that's one of those days we'll never forget. I was having a conversation with a bunch of people when we were in Canada, and we were saying there's like 5 things that have happened in my life in 40 years that I can tell you exactly where I was, how I felt, and when it happened. The Challenger is one of them, and 9/11 will always be one of them.
I'm glad you said that. This is interesting and scary times we live in, frankly, but we do live in the greatest country in the world. And that was one of those terrible things that made you realize that because of all the people, all the good that came from it and all the people that were willing and some that did put their lives on the line. And it's a day that I think all of us, at least those of us past a certain age, you're not human if you don't take some sort of moment to reflect and be thankful and pause looking back at what that was. So thank you guys for listening. Again, Facebook.com/A to Z podcast, A to Z podcast.com. Posting articles on the Facebook page all the time. The numbers are up, guys. August was absolutely incredible. I didn't have time to go back and look whether it was our greatest month ever, but I sent Dre the number of people that downloaded our podcast in August, and we were both incredibly humbled by that.
This shit is contagious, bro.
That being said, the numbers on Facebook.com/A to Z podcast aren't where they should be in relation to that, so give us a like. I did post an article. I post 2 or 3 on there a week and a 9/11 one, related one there this morning. So thank you guys for listening always, especially lately, and into the future. We leave you with a little Mac Miller.